Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're looking at the completely fascinating biological and behavioral mechanics behind how we actually create new routines. If you've ever wondered why some habits just stick effortlessly while others seem, well, basically impossible to maintain, it all comes down to the neurochemistry of lasting habit formation. It's like a giant puzzle, and we're going to put the pieces together. Let's get right to it. Okay, let's dive into this. Why exactly do our brains love habits so much? Simply put, because habits are essentially brain shortcuts. Think about it. Your brain is an incredibly busy, extremely energy-hungry organ. And to save energy, it's just constantly looking for ways to improve its own efficiency. By turning a sequence of actions into a habit, your brain literally doesn't have to work as hard to process every single step. It essentially just flips a switch and goes on autopilot. It's a brilliantly built-in efficiency mechanism designed purely to conserve your mental energy. Section 1. The chemical drivers, the engine of our actions. Now we're zooming down to the microscopic level, where invisible neurochemicals are basically acting as the primary engine for all of our routines. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these two heavy hitters actually divide the labor. On one side, we've got dopamine. Dopamine is all about that initial motivation and drive. It's the spark plug, right? It's what gets you moving the second you decide to start a new routine. But here's the catch. Dopamine alone isn't nearly enough to make a habit last. And that is exactly where the other side of our comparison comes in, serotonin. Serotonin provides the calm, the patience, and the long-term persistence that you absolutely need. So while dopamine gets you off the starting line, serotonin is what keeps you on the track, day after day, providing that calm persistence required for real long-term consistency. Section 2. The neurological habit loop, from chemicals to behavior. So how exactly do those invisible chemical signals translate into our day-to-day physical behavior? And this brilliantly illustrates the core mechanism we're talking about. The habit loop is basically the neurological cycle triggered by consistent repetition that eventually makes actions feel, well, completely automatic. When you combine that initial dopamine kick with steady serotonin persistence and you repeat an action consistently, you trigger this very specific, powerful cycle. You're literally shifting your actions from a state of conscious, exhausting effort straight over to complete autopilot. Let's go ahead and break down the 3 specific steps of this behavioral framework. Step 1 is the cue. That's the trigger where your brain recognizes an opportunity and gets that quick dopamine hit of motivation. Step 2 is the routine. This is the actual behavior you're performing, sustained, of course, by your calm serotonin patience. And finally, step 3 is the reward. This is the big payoff that tells your brain, yes, this shortcut is absolutely worth remembering. This cyclical loop connects directly back to those chemical drivers we just discussed, reinforcing the neurological pathway every single time you complete it. Section 3, Rewiring Takes 66 days, the timeline of transformation. Now, zooming out from that daily behavioral loop, we really need to look at the macro time frame required for actual structural brain changes. So the crucial point is 66 days. According to the research, that is the average time it takes to successfully restructure your brain's internal pathways. Listen, it doesn't happen overnight, and actually, scratch that, it doesn't even happen in a week. It takes an average of 66 days of running that loop for the behavior to become a structurally hardwired shortcut in your brain. Let's move to and see how this builds into a final equation. Chemical signals plus time equals lasting habits. The convergence of dopamine giving you the drive, serotonin giving you the patience, and running through that cue routine reward loop over an average 66-day timeline, well, that is the exact biological math that results in lasting habit formation. It's really a perfect summary of how all these underlying elements converge. Just consider this absolutely fantastic quote from the research. You are literally rewiring your brain every time you repeat a good choice. I mean, there is incredible power behind that statement. By simply repeating positive choices, you're actively rewiring your own neural circuitry. You're physically improving your brain's efficiency with every single repetition. You are completely in the driver's seat of your own biology here. Which brings us to our final, provocative question. What good choice will you rewire today? Now that you know you actually have the power to structurally change your brain through dopamine, serotonin, and 66 days of consistency, what shortcut are you going to build next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now go out there and start rewiring.